Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm going to present about leadership in educational organization. My name is Liu. Okay, this is my matching number, PQB 190022. Okay, let's moving on to the contents of my presentation. It will be focusing on 4 parts. The first part, that is leadership in educational organization. The first part will talk about introduction and give some definitions of related keywords. The first one is that education. Education in general sense is a form of learning in which the knowledge, skills, and habits of a group of people are transferred from one generation to the next through teaching, training, or research. Leadership described as a process of social influence which one person can support of others in the accomplishment of a common task. As for educational leadership is a process of enlisting and guiding the talents and energies of teachers, students, and even parents toward achieving common educational aims. Now let's move on to the second part of my presentation, that is leadership styles in educational organization. It will be 3 different leadership styles in education. Leadership styles were introduced to address the needs of students from diverse backgrounds. There are 3 different types of styles that is commonly practiced. Okay, the first one is hierarchical style, and second one is transformational style, and the last but not least one is facilitative style. Let's go through these 3 styles one by one. The first one is, as I mentioned just now, is hierarchical style. Hierarchical style is based on the traditional method of education. It emphasizes in a top-down approach with formal authority and little scope for participatory analysis. For second types of leadership styles in education, that is transformational style. Okay, this style is based on working together to put in place a mechanism that will reap immediate benefits and future ones. This transformational leadership fosters a sense of purpose and meaning to united people for a better cause. It's a very good one. The third one is facilitative style. This style is similar to transformational style, which is the second one, but in more focusing on the democratic as well as interactive in practice. Okay, these are the 3 styles of leadership styles in education. The third part, let's move on. The third part of my presentation, that will be developing effective school leaders. It will focusing on principal part and the teacher's part. For the school principal, we call it the principal or school head, is commonly thought to be the school leader. However, school leadership, or we call it educational leadership, may include other persons such as members of a formal leadership team and other persons who contribute toward the aims of the school. And you also face with often contradictory demands. Many principals struggle to find their place and make sense of their new roles. We know that good leaders are made, not born, is a very famous quote. As Jago in 1982 say that if you want to be an effective leader, you have to have desire and power through a never-ending process of self-study, education, training, and experience. From this chart, we know that the organization's value in leaders most focusing on this part, which is strategy thinking. Okay, it's important skills for leaders. And others like this are also valued. But the most important value one element is strategy thinking. Okay, now let's moving on to the teacher's role. Developing effective school leaders. If you are a teacher, if you want to be a teacher, want to be work as a leader, you have to have these 10 roles. You can be these 10 roles. Because of the time is quite limited, we will focusing on only 5 of them. Okay. Actually, in this part, I have designed a very interesting game, but since it's online learning, okay, we will jump the game into, we will strictly talk about this without any game playing. Okay, the first teacher's role as leader, that is resource provider. Teacher as resource provider. Let's check it out. As resource provider, teachers help their colleagues by sharing instructional resources. During class or after class, the teachers will help others. The second role is that he or she can be instructional specialist. An instructional specialist helps colleagues implement effective teaching strategies. This help might include ideas for differentiating instruction or planning lessons in partnership with fellow teachers. The third role is that teacher can be curriculum specialist. What is that? That is understanding content standards, how various components of the curriculum link together, and how to use the curriculum in planning, instruction, and assessment is essential to ensuring consistent curriculum implementation throughout a school. Okay, the next one, teacher's role as leaders. He or she can be classroom supporter. Classroom supporters work inside classrooms to help teachers implement new ideas, often by demonstrating a class, co-teaching, or observing and giving feedback to the teachers. The last one, teacher can be mentor. Serving as a mentor for new teachers is a common role for teacher leaders. Mentors serve as role models, acclimate new teachers to a new school, and advise new teachers about instruction, curriculum, procedure, practice, and politics. Okay, these are the teacher's role as a leader. Next, let's moving on to how leadership influences student learning. Leadership is widely recognized as a key factor in student success. From this framework, we know that leaders play very important roles in identifying and supporting learning, structuring the social settings, and also mediating the external demands. As we can see from here, school leaders from both formal and informal sources helps to shape the nature of school condition. Okay, point to here, such as goals, culture, structure, and classroom conditions. And then it come to here. Okay, the content of instruction, the size of classroom, the forms of pedagogy used by teachers, and so on and so forth. A wide array of factors, including those in the school and classroom, help shape teachers' sense of professional community. Talking about this part. School and classroom conditions, teachers' professional community, and student or family background conditions are directly responsible for the learning of students. Okay, and next we will watch a video. The video is about perspectives on leadership in higher education. Let's enjoy the video.
My name's Doug Parkin, and I'm a Programme Director at the Leadership Foundation for Higher Education in the UK. Leadership is about people's energy, and it's about connecting people's personal energy with a purpose. Connecting people with purpose or connecting the purpose with people. Both ways round are important. And whether that's through inspiration, whether that's through social exchange, whether that's through creating a wonderful environment in which people can flourish, the list goes on. There are all sorts of ways of engaging people's energy to help people discover ways in which they can invest freely their own energy in something that is meaningful and that matters to them. You can think about a spectrum of leadership, from the heroic leader to the humble leader, and every kind of style that sits along that spectrum. And your perspective on what leadership is likely to influence how you lead. So if you think leadership is about command and control, that's very different to if you think leadership is about serving and enabling. So with those notions of leadership come very different values. Leadership always happens in a context, and so the specific context, the sectoral context, the political context, whatever it is, will determine also what leadership is. Leadership is a very values-driven activity. The more we are aware of ourselves and our frailties, the more authentically we can disclose ourselves to others, the stronger the leadership dialogue we'll have with others as a result. Sometimes I think we have the problem that what we see around here is lots of management, but maybe not so much leadership. Maybe when problems arise, when challenges come along, there's a tendency for us to retreat to the safe ground of management or instruction or direction, when actually it's some of those other skills to do with inspiration, energy and connecting, which is what may be needed. If we go back to sort of some classic thinking, functional management would say it's about planning, organising, monitoring, evaluating and controlling. That's one way of conceiving of what management is, the essential management functions. We can also think about what does a manager manage, and there's a lovely acronym called PRAISE that we can use, that people manage people, resources, activity, information. They manage themselves and they manage the environment. So we've got a couple of little thought tools for what management is there. What is leadership? Well, a nice little thing for thinking about leadership is something called VIDA, which is something I came up with. So leadership is about vision, energy, engagement, direction and alignment. So vision developed with a group, a shared vision of a better state, creating energy around that vision, engaging people with that vision, and then directing and lining activities towards that vision, I think is very much what leadership is about. And the other distinguishing feature perhaps is that management is about the present and leadership is about the future. And we need both. They may be captured in the same person, they may be captured in different people. I think it's fascinating to think about leadership as something shared or distributed through conversation and consent. through acknowledging complexity. And I think that in complex environments, facing complex challenges, leadership should not be a lonely activity. It should be an activity with others. And I certainly also think that a key aspect of sharing leadership is things flowing to the point of need. Working with multiple partners, with multiple stakeholders, with amazing people, with great intellectual capacities, with professional service colleagues who are highly expert in what they do and have marvellous skills in terms of coalescing services for the benefits of institutions, for the benefits of students. If the leadership is not shared, is not distributing, you are not getting the return on the wonderful resources you have in your organisation in terms of those amazing people. So the sharing of leadership is linked to shared purpose. We need to have a sense of what our point of sale is, our direction of travel is, but with the complexity of what that involves, there needs to be trust, there needs to be far more than just delegation, there needs to be empowerment of individuals. Within the context of higher education, I think that another feature of leadership, or another key relation of leadership, is with change. And the higher the stakes of change, the more the leadership function or the leadership inspiration needs to be present and evident. A few things to think about in terms of the unique challenges of leadership in university contexts, in higher education, is that, first of all, success is very multifaceted. Universities are not doing one thing, they're doing many things. Research, learning and teaching, knowledge exchange, local community engagement, internationalizations, transnational education, multidisciplinary research, the list goes on. And so success is across many fronts. And so you have to engage people, their hearts and energies in many endeavours, which is a very challenging thing for leaders to do, or to coalesce a single vision around those multiple perspectives. I think that in university contexts, the politics can be quite complex. I think that the relationships can be quite interwoven. I think that power relationships can be quite hazy, and so many leaders are leading through influence rather than traditional authority, and influence requires relationship and trust. And so I think that requires a particular quality of leadership and the nuance or finesse of leadership to achieve that. So I think that the higher education environment certainly needs leadership. I think it needs very high caliber leadership from people who are very self-aware, who can speak the truth with their own voice, who can be authentic, but who can also make difficult decisions in difficult circumstances.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. That's all from my presentation. Thank you so much for your watching and listening.